What will Tesla stock price do in 2026? Will it finally take off with the rise of Robotaxi, the beginnings of Optimus, and hints of Terafab? Today I've got Warren Redlich joining me, and he's coming in with a take most Tesla bulls don't want to hear. Warren thinks Tesla stock could stay basically flat through most of 2026, not because robotaxis won't work, but because Wall Street won't believe it until the robotaxi business shows up as real revenue and real gross profit in the financials. He's also going to break down what actually flips the market's mindset, the difference between a cool demo and a true stock re-rates moment. If you're a Tesla investor trying to time the next leg up, you'll want to hear this conversation. Warren Redlich is a criminal defense lawyer with a YouTube channel called Warren Redlich and is one of the few people that Elon Musk himself follows on X. Welcome, Warren.
Thanks for having me, Herbert. Retired defense lawyer.
Yes.
Long retired.
Thank you very much for joining me again. We do this, every 3 or 4 months. And you always have a different take than most, which is the thing that I love about the way you think. You've done several videos on your channel that piqued my interest. You did one on Tesla 2026. We'll talk about that. You did one on Tesla option strategy, because I know you're a uber bull, we used to call you, and you still are. And then you were like all long-term, all hold, never sell. But then last year you started playing with options, and then you've got some ideas of what you think will happen next year. Then you had a very interesting video as well. Many people look at you as this Elon acolyte. Just everything Elon does is right. And you even have a famous term, wasn't it? Elon disease.
Smarter than Elon
what
disease.
What is it?
STED is smarter than Elon disease.
Yeah. I love that. But you yourself created a video on Elon's biggest mistake. I thought that's very interesting. We'll cover those things today. So let's start with the big topic, Tesla 2026, and your take on that.
Yeah, so a lot of people are very bullish on Tesla, and I'm very bullish on Tesla. The way I would put it is Dan Ives, I call him Damn Knives, but Dan Ives posted something saying, he sees Tesla stock going up to, $800, $1,000 a share in 2026.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's more bullish than me for 2026. I'm way more bullish than him for 2030, right? I think most of the people who are currently bullish on Tesla short term might not be that bullish long term. They don't see the long term future. But I just, you mentioned in your opening, and I don't think it's just Wall Street. It's Wall Street and Main Street. There's a large chunk of investors who know nothing about Tesla. They know it's a car company. They know Elon Musk is. They don't know about FSD. They don't know about Robotaxi. They don't know about Optimus. They may see like these are side quests that Tesla's playing with, but they're an EV maker, right? So the way I like to put it is roughly 1% of the market really understands Tesla. The whole entire market. Now that 1% of the market owns like 30-40% of the stock, right? Because we get it. We buy the stock because we get it. So you got 99% of the market that isn't like paying attention to Tesla stock. So the question is, when does at least some of that 99% get it? And you have to ask yourself, what is the kind of thing that moves most of the market to believe in a stock? And I think it's something that shows up in the financials. It's in revenue, it's in gross profit, it's in net profit, it's in earnings per share. Do you see movement in that? Do you see something in the financials that you can see the growth path, right? And so, great, we've got a robotaxi driving around Austin, or two robotaxis driving around Austin with nobody in them, and they're not currently taking passengers. Is that really that exciting? I mean, it's for those of us who are deep into like Tesla lore, the Tesla world, every step is exciting, but that's not going to move the guy who doesn't pay. We're watching every video that Tesla AI puts out. We're watching every video that Optimus account puts out on X, right? We're 99% of the market is not watching this stuff. So what they're waiting for is, okay, we got the Q4 earnings call and slide deck coming up. We got the delivery numbers at the January 2nd and the earnings numbers, I don't know, January 23rd or something like that, right? Do they see something in that slide deck? Is there something reported in the earnings call? Is there something the media reports about what Tesla did this quarter that really changes things? And I think what really changes things is when there are enough Tesla robotaxis generating enough revenue to get a line in the financial statements. And Elon previously said second
Yeah.
half of 2026.
Hmm.
When he said this is the underlying thesis of why it's not happening in 2026. Because I don't know, 6 months ago, he said, 6 months ago, he said he expected it to hit the financials in the second half of 2026. He also said Tesla FSD Robotaxi will be operating in like 8 cities by the end of the year.
Yeah.
How many cities are we in?
Yeah.
Right? I think he said that the number of robotaxis in Austin will double by the end of the year. We got 2 weeks.
Hmm.
I hate to say it, it is 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks left to the end of the year. We're going to see robotaxis without a passenger, without an employee in them. Well, we've seen 2 robotaxis, 2 vehicles that were driving around with no one in them with a follow car, but they weren't taking passengers. So we're not really at the robotaxi with no employee in them yet. So are we going to be there by the end of the year? And I feel like not unusual. I'm usually more positive about these things when Ashok is on the same page. With SpaceX, when Gwynne Shotwell's on the same page, when the Tesla team's on the same page, I'm usually more. But when Elon says something and then it doesn't happen as quickly as you think, then you have to say, well, he said this was going to happen in the second half of 2026.
Hmm.
And now you got to push that back. So you push it back to Q4 of 2020. Even if you just push it back to Q4 of 2026, those numbers aren't reported till January 2027. So the question really, and I'll put it to you,
Yep.
and my number is this: 10,000 robo taxis
Right.
operating an average of 8 hours a day.
Yep.
Right? When you get 10,000 robo taxis operating an average of 8 hours a day, I think that hits the financials. Right? That's in the ballpark of when you hit the financials. So when do we get to 10,000 robo taxis operating 8 hours a day? Really working.
Yep.
I don't think that's Q1. What do you think?
No, I agree with you totally. So first of all, I completely agree. I did a show with Cern Basher, and he pointed out that if you look at Nvidia, when did its stock start to skyrocket? And the Wall Street always said, AI chips, AI GPUs. They just didn't believe it until you had quarter upon quarter earnings results that keep growing, and that happened. That's when the stock just kept following, and eventually it's like realized it's the case. CERN believes that quarter upon quarter earnings for Tesla will not grow until second half of 2026, which may not be pushed. So I see that, but other people I talk to, Warren, like AJ and others, who follow the market very well, what they'll say is this: okay, when you are, let's say you're June 2026, what the stock market does is they look forward a year. And so by June of 2027, people already can calculate at that point where they would be. And so it comes earlier than you're thinking. What is your response to that?
I don't have any respect for AJ anymore. AJ lost the script about a year ago, 6 months ago.
Okay.
No, I mean, actually, you mentioned Nvidia and CERN, and like Nvidia still hasn't caught up. The price earnings ratio is like 43. The company's growing like, I don't know, 50. It's
Well, it
growing like
skyrocketed
crazy.
and then it fell back. And then now, yeah, it's like people are still questioning, which is, yeah,
No,
you'll see.
I would
You're
say
saying
look
that
at
the
the
same thing
Apple.
will happen for Tesla over and over and over again. Yeah.
One of the things that really drives me is look at what happened with the iPhone and Apple
Yeah.
stock. So
Yeah.
you have 2007 Apple's trading, I forget, like I'm going to make up a number and say it's trading at $5 a share. I don't think I'm
Yeah.
correct, but it's in that ballpark. And then over the next, just whatever the actual number is, you just follow the same math. Over the next 4 to 6 years after the iPhone comes out, the stock goes up, right? It goes up. I think you get a 4x in 4 or 6 years, right? So you're at $20 a share. And plenty of people sold on a 4x, like, oh, I made a 4x. Awesome. Yeah. And then the stock 23x'd.
Yeah.
Right? Like you think you got it. And then you sell before it's there. Like I could see people like Tesla stock goes to 900. Let's like imagine Tesla stock went to 900 December 31, 2026. How many people are going to sell?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's going to 5,000 in 2 years, but they don't see that because they're just obsessed with the short term. So I don't know that I don't think we hit 900 at the end of 2026. I don't see that happening. So I think if you follow that Apple growth chart, it's like this, and then it's like this, and I missed it. Like I missed the Apple. I had the first iPhone, right? Like I caught some lightning in a bottle. Like with Amazon, I caught lightning in a bottle. I caught Tesla's lightning in a bottle early enough. With Apple, I made like a 3x on Apple over like the Mac 2C or something like that. I'm making up some Macintosh computer that I thought was really cool before the iPhone came out. I had like a moment with Apple where I did really well, but I didn't see it with Apple. And I should have. I mean, I'm an Apple. I'm talking to you from a Mac laptop.
Mm-hmm.
I have an iPhone. My daughters have iPhones that I paid for. I think my ex-wife is still using the iPhone I paid for, right? And you look at that and like, well, why did I miss Apple? Seriously, look at an Apple stock chart and say, how did I miss that? Right. And I think the same thing is true with Tesla, that we're in the flat period before the rise. And even if you bought early in that steep rise, it's like you should have been buying more. Right. People just didn't see it. And again, I didn't see it either. So the question is, like, I'm looking at Nvidia right now and I'm like, no, the rise just started.
Yeah.
And
And
for
people
people who don't know, I sold about 4% of my Tesla stock, and I bought Nvidia with it.
okay. Yeah.
And I think I was thinking about doing it again, and I might do it again. I might sell 4% of my Tesla stock. And now, at the same time, you mentioned options. I have a really large chunk of my portfolio, like a 10% chunk. I think it's more than 10% today. Like a 10% chunk of my portfolio in Tesla long options. And that's really like every one of those options, the value of that is like 2-3x Tesla. So really, I'm more Tesla than 96% if you think about it that way.
Okay, before we go there, Warren, you did say the number is 10,000 robotaxis before you actually see kind of some sort of hint that it's on the earnings. Other people I've spoken to, like Joe Bakdi, was saying that he thinks it's around 20,000 robotaxis. But here's the difference between you and them, is that when I asked them how many robotaxis would there be by the end of the year 2026, they're talking 30,000. And I'm like, whoa.
It's not the end of the year. The end of the year isn't the issue.
Yeah. Okay.
The issue is how many robotaxis are operating. You don't know the number at the end of the year until January of 2028. So the question is, what happens in Q3? If you want to know what's going to happen in Q4 of 2026, by the end of 2026, the decisive thing from an investor standpoint is what happens in Q3. Q3 ends September 30th, 2026. So the question is, how many robotaxis are operating on August of 2026, right? Because that's going to be the average for Q3. And then let me just explain my reason for my number 10,000. And these are estimates, right? I think that once you start scaling robotaxi, you can't keep the price too low, because then people have to wait too long. Once you have it an open network and anybody can use it, if you price it too low, then the wait, unless you have enough robotaxis, the wait times will be too long. So you have to start pricing it normally. So I think that the price of a robotaxi ride will be more than $1.50 a mile in that world. I don't think they can keep the price that low as they're doing in Austin right now. But ballpark, 10,000 robotaxis. If each robotaxi makes $50,000 a year in gross profit, which I think is roughly correct, and I could go through why, that's $500 million in gross profit for the year, right? And that shows up on the Q3, whatever financial statement you see. Okay, we see $125 million in gross profit on the robotaxi line for the quarter. Okay, that's a significant number in Tesla's. That's enough. Once you get over $100 million in gross profit for a quarter on an issue, I think that becomes its own line on the financial statements. Maybe it gets its own line sooner than that. But when you see that number and you say, okay, they've got 10,000 robotaxis today,
Hmm.
What's the path to 100,000 robotaxis? Well, it's not very far down the road.
Exactly. So when do you think that that's going to happen? Are you not saying it's Q3? Or are you now saying it's 2027?
I think that we're not going to see 10,000 robotaxis on the road until Q4 at the earliest.
Okay. And that's where I think you might be wrong, because it's not just cybercabs. It could be Model Ys. They can spit that
I
out
totally
in
think it's
a
Model
week.
Ys,
Yeah.
but
Why wouldn't you then
Elon
be
said
able
it
to do
doesn't.
10,000? Yeah.
But Elon said it doesn't hit the financials until second half of the year,
Mm,
and things are being
okay.
pushed back. Like where's the other cities? Right? When does the Austin robotaxi network expand? When does the Bay Area robotaxi network expand? You can expand the geographic area. That's great. Until you add enough cars, it doesn't matter. And they can't run more cars until they really have it operating the way they want.
Yeah.
So, Elon just did this video. I think he was speaking to the XAI hackathon,
Hmm.
and he spoke. I that was in my 2026 video.
Hmm.
Um, and he said, right now we're working on on the current model, the current AI model, right, which is X number of parameters, and we're gonna be 10xing the parameters in the next model.
Yeah.
But they think they have it solved in the current model,
February, March. Yeah.
right? No. I
It's
think he
solved
said
now.
January, February they go to the 10x model,
Hmm.
right? But he said they have it solved in the current model.
Hmm.
Okay, so they're like testing it now. They think they have it now. So then, okay, but when does it start? It's really this question, like, what did the Tesla account said slowly, then all at once,
Right.
right? So, it's at some point they flick the switch, right? They could probably have 10,000 robo taxis between the Bay Area and Austin in
That's what I was
2
going to
weeks.
ask you. I mean, 2,000 per city, maybe all of Texas, Dallas, San Antonio, 2,000 each. It's like this issue
No,
of, oh,
I'm
how
saying
many cities? They don't need to
the
have more than 4 or
I
5
think the Bay
cities.
I think the Bay Area alone could support 10,000 robo taxis.
Okay. Well, then why do you think that it might be just because Elon said it won't hit the
because
books
they're
until?
because they're being
Okay.
extremely cautious in the rollout, and they're
Yeah.
trying to monitor a lot of things. Like, I don't think people think the regulators are holding them back. I don't think the regulators are holding them
No,
back.
it's infrastructure, right? Yeah. It's
It's
management, where the
it's
cars
confidence.
go,
No,
cleaning.
I
Mhm.
think I think there are things like, how are we picking up passengers in the right location, dropping them off in the right location? Um, how do we solve this particular customer service issue? There's some small things like that, but it's really driven by confidence that the model is driving well enough, that they've gone far enough in the March of Nines that they can just let it go. If
Mhm.
you have to have teller operators watching every vehicle, if you have to have a follow car in every vehicle, it doesn't scale. It scales when you could just send the vehicle out to go make you money. I jokingly say on the Tesla app, there'll be a button where you press the button and it's the go make me money button. Like, the car drops you off at work and you press the
Yeah.
go make me money button. The car
Yeah.
drives around until at 4:30 you press the button, come get me. It comes, gets you, it takes you home. You get home, you press the go make me money button. It goes out and makes you more money. Right. So when does Tesla press the go make me money button on the robo
Well,
taxis?
what do you
And
think it
once
is?
they do that, once the
What do you think it is
I think it's Q4 at the
of next year?
earliest.
And this is
Yeah.
where I guess I would disagree with that one. I mean, you've got a model, you got a Tesla, I've got a Tesla. I've been using it now here in Washington State, Portland, and Vancouver, Canada, Western Washington. It's now 8 months. I've not had a critical disengagement. It drives me everywhere. I can basically, if I wanted to, sleep, and it would take me home, and I wouldn't be concerned. But of course, I'm not going to do that, because are we at the March of Nines? Uh, but we're that close, and so by February, I don't think it will take an entire year. And when you see what they're doing in Austin, there is no, maybe the first month they'll have somebody there remote monitoring it. But is anybody remote monitoring my car when I'm,
You are.
I
You are.
am, but I don't need to do, I really don't need to, I have not had a critical disengagement myself. Not just N of one, I get that, but it's like we're talking about Seattle, Washington, Vancouver,
Right.
Canada. You've got people in Chicago, you got people in Philadelphia, New York, and in Florida, and everybody's doing it everywhere. Now Europe, now all over the place, and they're being blown away. It's
So I want to be wrong. I want to
yeah,
be
yeah.
wrong.
Okay. Okay.
And let's take another step here. So first of all, I don't drive FSD, and Thailand does not have
Right.
FSD.
Right.
I did drive version 12 when I was in Orlando a couple
Right.
months ago, which was good. But
12,
no, obviously
not
not.
14. Mm,
It's a hardware 3 car.
yeah. Yeah. Hardware's
Um,
not, it doesn't work for hardware 3 car yet. Not as good. Yeah.
it's still pretty good.
Yeah. No,
It's a
still
hell
pretty
of a lot
good.
better than
But
autopilot
I'm
in Thailand, I'll tell you that.
exactly. But
Fine.
14.2.1, it's
No,
like,
so here's the thing.
boom.
You said, "I've driven this for 8 months." How many miles did you do?
Oh, I don't know.
10,000?
I'm not very many. Yeah. 10,000. Yeah. That's about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many miles is the Tesla team watching?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Billions.
I've seen the numbers. It's a lot. It's
Billions of
I think
miles.
they've said something like in 1 hour, it's like the 10 million mile. I don't know, something like
Yeah,
10
they're doing a
million
billion
lives.
miles a quarter or more.
Yeah.
So they're watching. You watch 10,000 miles in one set of in a fairly narrow set of contexts, and they're
Yes.
watching billions of miles in a much broader context.
Hmm.
And you don't see what they see,
No.
and they know where the errors are.
Hmm.
And Omar saying it drives perfectly, and you saying it drives perfectly, and then you'll see one guy saying, "Oh, I had this problem."
Yeah. No. Absolutely. But is it going to take an entire year? Is the question? And I'm saying, well, I don't think it's going to take a
But
whole
that's
year.
my point: is that Elon said, driver completely employeeless robo taxis by the end of the year. People think
And
we've done it. Well, they're not taking passengers yet, so no, we haven't.
right.
And
Agreed.
eight
All
cities,
that's true.
eight cities by the end of the
True.
year, we're still at two. We're still at two. So when's the third city? Now?
Yeah.
I don't like. I will say this. I don't think you could get to 10,000 robo taxis in the Bay Area alone. I'm not saying that's the right strategy, and I'm not saying that will happen, but you could get to the Bay Area is big enough between Oakland and San Francisco and San Jose and all that. Easily, you could do 10,000 robo taxis in that place. You could probably do 50,000 robo taxis there and still not
Yeah.
oversaturate the market. Austin could probably do 10,000 robo taxis and not oversaturate the market. So, but the question is, when do you see other cities? I think the thing that drives national acceptance, like again, we're talking later in 2026, when you have robo taxis operating in Orlando and Las Vegas, that's the thing that starts. This is like the type of thing that might wake up the investors. I would say the one thing that might wake up investors that I'm not taking into account is
Hmm.
when you have robo taxis operating in Orlando and Vegas, which are the two most popular convention centers in the United States,
Hmm.
or other
Hmm.
popular tourist destinations like Miami or Los Angeles, because I don't think it's operating in Los Angeles yet.
Yeah.
And the random Main Street investor arrives at Vegas for a convention, and he's figuring out how he's going to get to his hotel, and he sees all these people hopping in these Teslas. And he's like, "What's that?" Somebody tells him. He downloads the app, right? He probably takes a regular taxi to his hotel and then finds out when he's talking to other
Hmm.
people at the convention what an idiot he is because he didn't take a robo taxi. And then, he downloads the app and he takes a robo taxi back to the airport at the end of his trip. Maybe takes like a couple robo taxi rides on, in Vegas while he's there. That might wake some investors up. I would give it that. Like if you go to Disney World, right, and you go from Orlando Airport, and same thing, like you feel like an idiot because you paid an Uber to take you there, and it was like $50, and then you're talking to somebody at Disney World, and they paid $8 for a robo taxi ride, and you're like, I'm an idiot. Like I could see that waking some investors up. And there's this question. So here's my theory about, and this is just a theory, is if 99% of the market doesn't get it and 1% does, and we're the 1% that owns 40% of Tesla, and 3 of the other 99 start to get it,
Hmm.
and they start buying Tesla stock, well, you just triple demand for the stock. That might take it off. So the question is, it's not what wakes up the 99% of the market. It's, is there a segment of the market that's ready to wake up that
Mm.
needs something to trip the wire for them? And maybe it's the experience of riding in a robotaxi themselves. But again, if you only have 10,000 robotaxis operating, how many of those investors are actually going to experience it? I don't know. I don't know how many,
Yeah.
when do you get to where, 10,000 investors have ridden in robo taxis that weren't really familiar with Tesla before, and then they do them because this is what happened with me with Amazon, right? I was an
Yeah.
Amazon Prime, early Amazon Prime member, and I noticed I was shopping on Amazon all the time because the free shipping and the 2-day
Yes.
shipping or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, other people are going to do this, right?
Yeah.
Like that
That's how it
switch
works.
flicked in my
Yeah.
brain. That turned me to an Amazon investor.
yeah.
What flicks the switch for the Main Street investor, the Wall Street investor, that they have
So
some personal
yeah.
experience?
So first of
I
all,
don't.
just to clarify, I'm on your side, by the way. I'm not on the side where people are saying that 2026 the stock is going to go to the moon for two reasons. One is exactly what you're saying, which is the Main Street investor will jump in when they start seeing quarter upon quarter growth in actually hitting the books. I agree with you there, and that may not happen until second half this year. The stock might jump because of oh my God, they solved the FSD, but then people then look at the PE ratio and they look at the actual fundamentals and they go, and then the sentiment goes back down again. Then it goes up and then it goes back down again. But really sustained increases will happen when you have that. And secondly, the other thing is I'm expecting that Tesla, and I want them to do this, invest heavily, heavily in robots, in cybercab, in data centers, in new gigafactories, in AI. All that should takes much more R&D spend that they ever spent. And I'm expecting they're going to do in 2026. What will that do? Free cash flow will go down. And the people are looking at fundamentals will go, this company's not even profitable, or whatever number they want to look at. But it's not going to look pretty on the fundamental side until 2027. And that's when, for sure, that's the case. The only thing is, every time I say that to people, what they say, and smart people, they'll say, "You're right. However, the stock market is forward looking, and so if you predict that that's what's going to happen, financials fundamentals will hit on 2027, which I do and you do, then you go a year later. That's when actual." Because people are realizing next year, holy cap, I better get in now. That's what they're saying.
So, first of all, I'm not as convinced as you are that Tesla will invest heavily in 2026. I think that the Cybercab line will start producing in 2026, and the volume that it will produce will be enough in conjunction with Model Y production, Model 3 production, that they won't necessarily need to add another Cybercab factory somewhere. I do think there's a chance that they will do a Cybercab factory in Shanghai.
Right.
And if they do a Cybercab, the thing is, the CapEx for a Cybercab factory is fairly low, and CapEx in China is lower than it is other places. So I think they might do a Cybercab line or a Cybercab factory in China, but that won't be a big CapEx expense. With the Cortex 2, with
AI data centers.
the AI training clusters, I've actually been disappointed that Tesla hasn't been investing more in growing faster.
Right.
Like, I'm watching XAI build this cluster that's like way bigger, and I'm like, why isn't Tesla building a bigger cluster because Optimus is going to need insane compute.
Yeah.
And I think the answer is because Elon's waiting until Optimus is ready to grow, because he doesn't want to invest that much in training resources when he has 50,000 Optimus. He wants that much training resources when he has 1 million Optimus. So I think we're going to see a really large expansion. Now, that might be 2026. We might see a really large expansion later in 2026. I don't think they're going to start Terafab until 2027 at the earliest, so that CapEx won't happen. So I don't know where the CapEx. I want there to be more. I want them to invest more CapEx in 2026, but I'm not confident that they will. And you think they will?
They will, because it's a massive race in AI. Speed is what matters most to Tesla. Elon did come out and he's physically said, "I was waiting until autonomy is solved. Now that it is, I'm going to be producing 50% more vehicles next year." But the same way, they need to build this. I get what you're saying about Optimus, though. In order to build when you need bigger data centers for Optimus, you need vision. You need the vision data, and you need at least, let's say, 100,000, 1 million Optimus out there to capture that video, or some other way. There's these Indian chop shops now that they're paying people to wear while they're at the factories. Video, you need that video, and how do you get that? And so you're right, that part may be low, but I don't see Elon waiting on AI. This is it. The race is on big time. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think we're actually going to hear that in January. In January, they're going to tell us their CapEx projection for the year. So I think they spent, their projection for 2025 was around 12 billion.
12 billion,
for the year. So then, what is the projection for CapEx for 2026? If they say It's not going to be more than 20 billion.
No, I hopefully it could, but anyways, it should be 20. It should be 20 to 12 to 20. Jump to
But
12 from
it
12
might
to
be
20.
12 again. Like I don't know.
I think it's gonna be more. This is it. Gloves are off. Okay, I'm pretty confident on this one. But regardless, the point being that I am expecting the financials to not look good next
Yeah.
year. I agree with
Well,
you.
and what I'm saying
It could
is
get
if it's
ahead.
only 20 billion, that's not that big of a hit on the financials.
It's free cash flow though. That's what I'm saying. People are
Yeah.
used to positive, and I think it's going to go to zero or maybe negative. But okay, people are like, that's the metric that people care about. But okay, that's another thing, because I think investors should overlook that because they know that it's investing. Okay, so I get your point. I actually do agree that people might get ahead with stock. And then what's your option strategy? Are you actually now? I heard that you might have moved it to January 2027, right?
No, I was January 2027. I moved it later.
Oh, okay. And so
My strike
again,
dates,
just
my strike dates were mostly January 2027. I moved them to January 2028
okay, gotcha. Okay.
because I'll actually have a great. I'm going to do a poll on this on X.
Hmm.
I'll ask you this question. I'll ask your audience to think about this question. What's the likely bottom Tesla share price for 2026? What's the lowest that you think the Tesla stock price will be in
Wow.
2026? There's all
That's
these people predicting Tesla stocks can go to $1,000 a share in 2026. I think
what's the
Brian Wong was
lowest?
convinced it was going to be 1,000 at the end of this year.
Yes.
And I think that we may see Tesla stock below 350 at some point in 2026, and then and maybe below 300. I've written it down to 108. I've been up at 80 and down to 108 and back again, right? So
yeah.
if you're a believer in the long term, it doesn't matter. But for people who are short termers, like, do you really think the stock can't go below 400 again?
Well, let's unpack that. That's a really good question. I'm not one to think that it's going to go to 180. It's not going to go. I think 400 might be the lowest it'll go. And why? Yes, the PE ratio is pretty high. People are already like, what, 150 is worth the car business. The energy business is growing, but it's a lot of this is already built in. Is the expectation for Robotaxi and the bot. However, the difference is that every single month that goes by, the Robotaxi and the bots are no longer stories. I think Optimus is still a story. Robotaxi is not becoming a story anymore. So you add that, like, it's no longer a story part, so it should not be like this fluctuation anymore. I think that that's built in. So I will say $400. We're at 450 now. I'd be comfortable. But of course, anything can
477,
happen, right? What happens if something happens to Elon, right? Politics, war. How far down could it go?
Yeah, no. The something happens to Elon is the nuclear option. I don't
Okay.
go there.
But like it is a quantitative easing. We're heading in that direction. Interest rates are cut. Money's flowing again. If that is true, then Tesla is a growth stock that will benefit. If that shuts down again, then Tesla's a growth stock that's waiting for actual revenue to support its value. So you're right. It could go back down to where we're at today or maybe lower than today. I don't think anything lower than 400. I'll stick with 400. Yeah.
I think Q4 is going to be good delivery numbers and good earnings numbers. And then Q1 is probably going to bomb. Q1 is usually a slow quarter.
Right. It is.
So if Q1 is a slow quarter, what does that mean?
Right.
I actually think Thailand's a not very important country for this. Thailand is ending some EV incentives that I think mostly apply to the Chinese EVs. That, like, if you bought a Chinese EV, you saved like $6,000, and Tesla was too expensive to qualify. Most of the Teslas were too expensive to qualify for the incentive. So I almost wonder if Tesla sales are going to increase in Thailand because the Chinese EVs are going to have to raise their prices, or if they're just going to eat their losses. I don't know. But the Chinese market is actually a bigger driver of Tesla stock now than the U.S. market.
Yep.
And is Europe going to bounce back, or is Europe going to get worse? Like there's all these things that are going on in the macro economy that really drive things that people don't tend to know. Like, yeah, I'm excited about Robotaxi. I'm excited about Optimus, but if the macro economy takes a negative, like Jeff Lutz, you're a big fan of Jeff. I think you have Jeff on. Yep. He's really concerned about the tariffs in the United States, screwing up everything.
Yeah,
I
it has
see him
already.
talk about
You
I
saw
see him
what
talk
happened
about
to
that on
Ford.
X.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
well,
And
so
China.
I don't
Mhm.
have a feel on the pulse of the American economy anymore. I don't
Mhm.
know. Like, I'm not in the grocery stores in America. I was in Orlando for a few days. I don't have a feel for it yet. If you follow the MAGA people, like the economy's great, everything's wonderful. If you follow Jeff, like the economy has all these problems, and I don't know what to believe, right? But I think at some point we're going to see, there may be some really bad macro numbers that drive the stock market down 20-30%, and Tesla's a 2 alpha
Sure. I mean,
stock.
all that
So
can happen. Yeah.
if the market goes down 20%, Tesla might go down 50%.
40.
Well,
Yes, agreed.
50%,
Double, 40%.
50%
Yeah.
from 477 is 240, right? I don't
Yeah.
think it can go that low, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't rule it out.
I wouldn't rule it out. Okay, you're right. I mean, if like I said, it's all caveated to, like Elon. That's the big one. It can certainly go down under 50 if something happened to Elon.
No,
That one
if
can cut it.
Elon, something happened to Elon, I might sell all my stock the next day.
Right. I know we had that conversation before. Okay, well, let's
Mhm.
get to that next topic, which is you had a video, and again, you're an Elon. You really admire Elon's business. That's why you invest in the company. You just said that statement. But you did have a video that says Elon's biggest mistake. Why don't you share what your thoughts are?
Elon's biggest Tesla mistake. I
Yeah,
think that Giga Berlin, at the time they announced, this is a hindsight is 2020. I've got really good glasses. It's not a smarter than Elon disease. I think Elon might agree with this.
yeah,
Um, in 2021, I think it was, Tesla made the decision to invest in building a factory in Berlin. At the same time, they invested in building the factory in Austin, and they had just started, or they'd already opened the factory in Shanghai. And expectations for Giga Berlin were really high. I think Giga Berlin has massively underperformed expectations, and there's a variety of reasons for it. But Shanghai has produced, like, I don't know, 4 million
4 million.
vehicles,
Yes.
and I think Europe has produced like 600,000. Berlin,
Yeah.
there was supposed to be a battery cell line, and that never happened. I think they make battery packs but not cells.
Mm.
Um, you have protesters, BMW is paying people to protest for the environment over Tesla's. I'm exaggerating when I say BMW, but there's these weird groups of environmentalists who are upset about somebody making electric vehicles when, like, 3 years ago, all the environmentalists hated gas vehicles and wanted more electric vehicles. So you had that resistance. You had all kinds of bureaucratic resistance. You have all these labor rules that make things harder. Shanghai can go to 3 shifts anytime they want,
Mhm.
right? In Europe, they struggle to go past one shift.
Yeah.
And so I think they invested at least $5 billion and maybe $8 billion in capex on Giga Berlin and the surrounding supply chain and everything. And I think that they've made a couple $1 billion in gross profit. How much gross profit do you make on, let's say it's 700,000 cars by the end of this year total for the entire run of Giga Berlin, right? The first few 100,000 cars, you're losing money. Have they become gross profit? Have they been making a gross profit on cars from Giga Berlin? I don't even know. We know that Giga Shanghai, they make a gross profit on those cars. We know that Giga Texas, they make a gross profit on those cars. I think Fremont's been around long enough. They've amortized the factory, so they make a profit on those cars. But um, Giga Berlin might be the lowest profit per vehicle factory in Tesla's stable. And so the question is, if you took that $8 billion in capex or $5 billion in capex, and you put 1 billion into having made Shanghai bigger, you spent $3 billion in coming up with a Model Y S and a Model Y XL that you could sell higher volumes of vehicles, right? You really said, you know what? Because a lot of us wish Tesla had a bigger vehicle for the U.S. A lot of us wish Tesla had a smaller vehicle for Europe and Asia, and I see it in Asia. Like, the BYD Atto 3 is 70-80% the size of the Model Y, and less than half the price. And it's a very, very strong selling vehicle. If Tesla said we're going to make a BYD Atto 3 killer or a BYD Dolphin killer, whatever, that if they said we're going to make a car that's going to sell for $25,000 in Europe instead of 40, right, in Asia or Europe, and then we're going to make it, like, get the legit 300 miles of range. If they really doubled down and said we're going to make that car, they might sell an extra million cars, right? That's more in 1 year
In
than
Asia,
Berlin has
in
sold,
China. Okay.
than Berlin has sold the entire time,
hmm hmm
right? Well, no, a Model Y S. Like I'm obsessed with the Model Y S. I can't believe they haven't done a Model Y S yet. Um, a Model Y S would sell in Thailand. It would
A
sell in
smaller
China. It
version.
would sell in
Yeah.
Malaysia. It would sell in Indonesia. It would sell in Australia. It would sell in Europe. Um, and for some reason, they haven't done it. And I understand the reason. And then you get this question: what's the purpose of the cash pile? Right. But if you leave the cash pile where it is, if you took that Berlin capex and you put that into new models, like and it's fundamentally, Elon made a bet on Europe, and I think he probably suspected it was a risky bet.
hmm
But Europe said, "Go fuck yourself,"
Yep.
basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
to Tesla and to
Yeah.
Elon. And I don't think it's true that the brand damage is the problem. The supposed brand damage. I don't think that's really cutting European sales. I think it's just the European economy's in the tank. Like, what's one of the big advantages of owning a Tesla? I experience it here in Thailand, right? I charge at home. I pay 4 baht per kilowatt hour instead of 7 baht per kilowatt hour at a supercharger, and the 7 baht per kilowatt hour at the supercharger is half the cost of buying gas for a gas car, right? But Europe electricity rates are so high, you're not saving money charging a Tesla versus buying gas. It's
Yeah.
right. Like Europe has done everything to make it harder to make it work. Not,
Mm.
European politicians, the European Union, and people are like, oh, well, if Elon didn't talk about politics, no, they were doing this stuff anyway.
hmm
Like the
Okay.
problems in the European markets are primarily stuff that are worse, and that Elon had nothing to do with, other than complaining about them.
First of all, I saw your video and I thought it was incredibly well done. I think
Thank you.
if I didn't double check your facts, but I believe you, and it was a really eye opening thing. A fact by fact, it was great. Now you said 2020, looking backwards. But I will say that so you were saying that maybe if you knew if we go back to that year that they built it and you had a crystal ball, you already saw that came here, saw what happened, would you have still built it? And if you didn't, because you're going to say no, where would you build it? And you gave us some examples. You say I would have built extra in Shanghai, others, and so you would have no presence in Europe. I think the where this will come is they only sell 700,000 cars, but it's when Robotaxi. When Robotaxi happens, now that you've got cars in Europe, that seeds it, and you get all these FSD trials, testing, and then that's where then they'll make it back and they'll be worthwhile. But you would prefer not to have any presence at all in Europe at all?
So one of the options I talked about was like Serbia, which is not in the EU, or
Mm,
Poland. Those are options. My preferred option would be Osaka.
in Japan,
Japan.
right? And then, but
Tesla has no manufacturing presence in Japan,
I see.
right?
So attack the Japanese market before you did the Europe market. Mm,
Well, I think that the Japanese are more technologically more excited about tech.
mhm.
I think that the labor market rules are difficult in Japan, but they're not as bad as Europe. And you have a manufacturing partner in Panasonic in
Mhm.
in in Japan that I don't think you have in Europe. Um, I just think that the kind of cost of labor is much lower in Japan. The cost of labor, even if you have labor market rigidities and problems, a university engineer coming out of a university in Japan makes like $30,000 a year.
Mm.
Um, the so that the cost structure is lower there. I think there was potential. I'm not saying that Giga Osaka would be more productive than Shanghai. And then the other thing that's like no one sees that I see this and no one sees is if you told the Japanese engineers we got to do better than Shanghai. Like if
Mm.
you foster a competition between Japanese engineers and Chinese engineers, they will work. Both sides will go even. Like who are the Shanghai engineers competing with now?
Mm.
Right? They don't like you got to do better than Giga Berlin. Well, that was easy, right? But compete against Japanese engineers. Oh, those Japanese
Sure.
engineers are going to work their asses off to beat you. So
Yeah.
I think you would have gotten more because Elon said he wanted to tap the engineering talent in Europe. There's a lot of engineering talent in Japan.
Mhm.
So that's one. As far as robotaxi in Europe, I am
Mm.
nowhere near as confident that Europe's going to allow robotaxi, or when
Really?
they're going to allow robotaxi.
No.
Oh, but it's going to save lives. It's if you're watching
No.
European
No.
news at
Yeah.
all, it's obvious that the European politicians
You
don't
know.
care
Yeah.
about saving lives.
It's not about saving lives. Yeah. It's and there's less deaths there.
But
It's
so
about
it's marked.
productivity, though. It's about autonomous driving is significant for productivity. And when they go and say, look what China's doing, they're adopting AI, they're adopting autonomy. Look at the US, they're adopting AI and autonomy. Yes, Europe can't get their act together, and that's the biggest issue. But eventually, they'll have to adopt AI and autonomy to compete with the two. They like to look at themselves as equal to those two, and you know
No, this is the thing they've demonstrated repeatedly over the years that they will not do the things that are obvious that they should do
that's true.
to to
Yeah,
to get things
political.
right. And it's Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz. Was I remember him? I think I've heard him give two different numbers on this. That 80% of what AI and robots are going to do is already illegal in Europe, and then I think he changed his mind and said all of it. Like everything that AI and robots are going to do is already illegal in Europe. And there's this great account. I forget the guy's name. There's this account on X who like he pretends to be a venture capitalist in Europe. And he's like, I scheduled a meeting with a guy, and he has a company that's it's a great startup, and it's a company that manages compliance for startups, right? And they're already doing like 400,000 euros a year in revenue, and they think they can
Yeah,
expand to
yeah,
410,000 a year in revenue
gotcha.
in 5 years. So I invested 10,000 euros, and then I realized he didn't disclose everything to me, so I reported him to the authorities. And they arrested him and shut down his company. And yes, I lost my 10,000 euros, but I did the right thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
it's just,
getcha.
and it's
Oh,
like the
fun.
European attitudes towards like
Yes,
tech
yes,
and
yes.
capitalism and investment. And it's like
Oh,
I think Elon does see it, and I think he still hopes. I think Giga Berlin was a hope for Elon. I think it was part of his hope that he could save Europe from itself,
yeah,
and I think he thought he could do it, and I think it would have done more for Japan than it has done for Europe. Like I probably should get off the Giga Osaka bubble, but like I can't let go of Giga Osaka. Like there's so
yeah.
many
I
reasons
think
why
well,
Osaka would
Japan
have
is
made
like the
sense.
number three largest auto market, isn't it? Yeah,
It's China,
U.S.,
the
China,
U.S.
and then
It's I
Japan.
think it's China, the U.S., and Europe, and then Japan and India
Oh,
compete for number four. So
okay,
India
okay.
in volume, Japan in revenue,
Hmm.
um, and then Japan is a weird market because half the market is these tiny cars called K cars that are 660 cc maximum engines, and they're adorable. That we're actually seeing for some reason we're seeing more of them in Thailand right now. I don't know why because we didn't see them in Thailand that much before. But they're these adorable little cars that are like $10,000, $15,000, and they're very
Yeah,
efficient.
that's the one that President Trump said. I saw that, and I want them here in the U.S. too. That was what he just said a
Did he say that
week
about K
ago.
cars? Really?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. He physically
See,
said. He said actually said.
I don't think
I
Americans will buy them.
Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, he thought that it's because of regulations that it's not safe, and that's why they're not being made here. And he goes, "I'm going to do an executive order, make it available, make them build those small cars in the U.S. too." But I think you're right that it's not the safety issue. It's actually that people don't buy them here in the U.S.
Look, we have the Ford Ranger in Thailand. It's the fifth best-selling vehicle in Thailand. Number one and number two are Ford Ranger-sized pickups from Isuzu and Toyota, the Isuzu D-Max and the Toyota Hilux, right? So Thailand loves pickups, but it's the Ford Ranger size, and they don't sell the F-150 here, right? They sell the Ranger and the F-150 in the United States. Which one sells?
Yeah, so F-150,
Right?
the bigger
The
ones. Yep.
Ranger's cheaper, but
Yep.
everybody buys the F-150 because Americans want bigger.
Okay, so that's a great argument on the Giga Berlin one. That's a good one, I think, for Tesla investors to just pause and think about. But it's there. AI, Tesla AI chip. I know that last time we did a show, you were really big on this, and of course, a lot of things have changed. What's your latest thinking on Tesla's AI endeavors?
So I think Elon said they've taped out AI 5. AI 5 will be produced in volume in 2027.
2027.
I
Mm-hmm.
think he said
Mm-hmm.
in that uh, conference and then he says AI 6 will follow quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're in Elon time problems. Um, I think that he doesn't think they can manufacture at the scale they need for the volume of Optimus robots and AI satellites.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they're talking about building a Terafab. The Terafab, I think, is. I don't think they start building the Terafab until 2027 at the earliest. Um, I don't, and that's a really really tough one because building
Yeah.
fabs is super hard.
Yes.
Right now, Elon is going to be studying the Samsung fab. Right, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
supposedly. I don't know if it's true that it's funny. They said they set up
He
an
asked for an
office for
office.
the fab.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm like,
In Austin. Yeah.
I didn't think Elon liked having an office. That didn't fit.
It
Elon's more like
means
give
he's
me
going
a
to
couch.
visit often. It means that it's going to
Elon's
visit and
more like
walk the halls often.
give me a
Yeah.
couch somewhere on the factory floor line. But fabs don't have a factory floor line. You don't have humans walking the line
Mm.
in a fab because it's a clean room, right? So you don't have humans in there that much. But I think that Elon is going to dive in and learn every detail about making a fab.
Yes.
Um, he already probably knows a lot, but he's just going to like dive in so that I don't think he starts building the Tesla Terafab until he's really feels like he's digested everything
Yes.
about what Samsung is doing on their fab. Can he get TSMC to let him see what they're doing and really really dive deep in it? Because he said that's where he's putting a lot of his time is into these chips, but now he needs to put his
Mm-hmm.
time into fabs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he invests a lot of his time into understanding fabs in 2027.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe 2028 more. And I don't think he starts building the Tesla Terafab until 2029, really.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
2028, maybe 2029. And then the
Mm-hmm.
thing is just like, well, there's a moment in 2027 where I think the Robotaxi starts becoming like a money printing machine. And then 2028, and it grows fast. And then 2028, 2029, Optimus starts becoming a money printing machine. And the money just starts pouring in from people taking rides and people using Optimus. Just like like the cash flow is going to be astonishing. And that's when you can just say, because the cost of it, like, I don't know if we talked about this. Have you thought about how much the Terafab is going to cost to build?
No, I've not.
Because I have.
I had a viewer send me this incredible write up. He asked Grok a lot of questions, and Grok surprised us all. Basically, it said that if Elon using first principles, first of all, it says Samsung and TSMC have been mired in incredible legacy processes and steps that you do not need to do if you were to do one today. 40 years worth of redundant buildup. You can get rid of so much of it, etching and all that. I don't remember, but he goes, if you just put a small team with a small amount of money on a beach, which is where the sand is, start with sand. How would you make this thing? And it was shocking how it basically said, yeah, there's so many ways that Elon would create a chip very differently than these two, how they do it today.
Okay, I'm not optimistic about that. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
optimistic about that. I think that when I had my conversations with Grok, and I didn't have that conversation about the inefficiencies of the way TSMC and Samsung build fabs. I didn't have that conversation. I think that the cost of the first, the Terafab is going to have 10 lines. The cost of the first line is probably going to be $100 billion and might be 130 billion. So when you have a cash pile of 40 billion, that's a daunting task. When Robotaxi is pouring cash out, now you can either pay for it directly or maybe more likely it's easy to borrow at low interest because
You just borrow it because once you make the
I've got
chip,
this
it
cash
pays
machine.
more of it. Yeah, it's like it's a money making thing.
And maybe SpaceX. I
Yeah,
actually could see it being a joint venture with SpaceX
SpaceX
because
buys it.
SpaceX
That's why
already
they're
has
going
the.
IPO, dude. That's why they're getting 500, not just 30 billion. They'll make $100 billion raise. They'll use that to buy Tesla
Well,
AI
let's talk
chips.
about that quick. I think that they will raise maybe 40 or 50 billion. Why do you think
It's
it's
more
more?
than that. Yeah, CERN and others. I talked about it. Larry Goldberg. If you're valued at $1.5 trillion, you don't just raise 30 billion. You don't just raise 50 billion. You're probably going to raise 100 billion or more at a 1.5
Okay, so
trillion
let me be clear about my
valuation.
theory on this. My theory on this is those numbers were specific because SpaceX decided we're going to sell 2% of the company That's $30 billion on a $1.5 trillion valuation is 2% of the company.
Yeah.
The real reason for the IPO is to be fair to all the long-term investors, to let them sell their stock or some of their stock
They're
so that
doing it
they get.
already now. Every twice a
But
year
no,
they do a
they're
private
doing it, but this allows them to do it at
second.
scale.
Sure.
This,
Okay.
this allows them to do it at scale, so they can sell at scale. So if I'm the thing is, if you do your IPO and you only sell 2% of your stock, the demand is insane for that
It'll go up.
2%.
It'll go up to 2 trillion. Yeah.
So it goes to 2 trillion or more, and so
Mhm.
that 30 billion, maybe it goes to 2.5 trillion, and then that 30 billion becomes 50 billion.
Gotcha.
And I
Okay.
think the question is, how much does SpaceX think they need in cash in the short term when
That's why they
Starlink?
need a lot. Yeah.
But Starlink is printing money. Starlink is already the money printing machine,
They need
and
more.
the Starlink money printing machine is growing fast too. So
That's why it's going
I
IPO.
don't.
Why did Elon decide after years of not doing SpaceX and knowing how terrible public is, and specifically for SpaceX, you don't want to go public with a space company. He's doing it because this is it. I'm going to raise 100 billion, 200 billion dollars, and I'm going to use that money for Tesla AI chips, for
Right,
space-based AI. This is it. We're going big.
right. So the Terafab could be a joint venture between SpaceX and Tesla,
Yes.
because SpaceX is going to be using those chips on
Yes.
the AI satellites. I could
Yeah.
definitely see that, and
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised. Did you catch when Jensen said that Elon and I text each other a lot?
I didn't catch that one, but I know that they're good friends. Yes.
He was being interviewed, and he just dropped that. Oh yeah, Elon and I text each other a lot. Like,
Mhm.
what?
I did. Yeah,
Wait,
that's pretty cool.
I did not see that, because I don't think Elon texts Zuckerberg. I don't think Elon's texting Bezos. I don't think
You
Elon's
want to fight?
texting
You want
Bill
to fight me?
Gates.
You want to fight? Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right.
Sundar, maybe
No,
Sundar, maybe Sundar. Like,
no.
who's on Elon's text
The
list?
no, no, the Google guys. He likes the Google guys, not Microsoft.
Well, not Larry. He doesn't
Not
like
Larry
Larry.
Pin,
He
but
likes Demis.
he
Um,
likes them. Yes, yes,
so like, he and Larry don't get along. He gets along with
no,
Sergey.
yes,
But like, oh, so I could see Nvidia saying we want in,
yes.
and
I
Nvidia
I'd
becoming a
be
joint.
shocked if they weren't. Yeah,
Nvidia invests in the Terafab. Like,
of course they've been investing in everything. They invest in every one of
well, they
their
have the cash,
customers except for Tesla.
but they have the cash, and they.
Yeah,
I think that they see a role, and I think Elon sees a role for Tesla
yeah.
chips on AI satellites and Nvidia chips on AI satellites.
You've heard Jensen Huang say that inference chips is 1 billion times larger than the training chips that they're working on right now. He goes, 1
Wow.
billion.
Yeah,
That is
I
his
think
number.
people massively underestimate Jensen still.
Yeah.
People do
And that's
not
the
see how.
inference side, which is what Elon is working
So
on, what Jensen's going to start. Obviously, they've got their inference, but this is
James
like,
Douma said that inference is 95% of the AI compute. I think it was Douma that said that.
mm,
I think there's an open question about how much training compute do you need, and I
mm,
think that you really can get into this. Like, okay, you want your inference compute in low Earth orbit. Oh, sorry, some of your inference compute in low Earth orbit, because you want low latency for some of your inference compute. The question is there inference compute that you don't need low latency on? Can that go into high Earth orbit? And when you extend out 10 plus years, are you building satellites that are going in orbit around the sun, right? And then, because you want to go, you want to skip Kardashev 1 and go to Kardashev 2.
mhm,
So there's a really interesting question. One of the conversations I had with Grok was, is there enough mass on the moon
mm,
to build a Dyson sphere?
mm.
Not even close. There's nowhere near enough
No.
mass on the moon. And of course,
Right.
we probably don't want to use the moon to build anything. We don't want to use a non-trivial amount of the moon's mass to build anything, because that affects tides on
Everything on
Earth and
Earth. Yeah.
other issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I was like, well, what if you used Mars? We could
Oh,
probably live
too
without
far.
Mars on Earth, right?
Yeah.
Nope, not enough mass for and it turns out like all the rocky planets combined and the asteroid belt combined
It's not enough.
doesn't have enough mass to create a Dyson sphere around the sun. So like,
Mm,
okay. So we're initially doing like a ring world right, a ring around the sun to harvest electricity. And like,
Mm.
there's some really, I mean, you start getting out to like 30, 40, 50 years, like you start to have some really interesting problems.
That's a lot of fun. Okay, let's end with you said that. Oh, first of all, great conversation. I appreciate your thinking. You're conservative for the next year, but you said that you are more bullish than most are in long term. What is your long term? You said 2030, I think you heard. What do you see at that point? What's the price point? What is happening for Tesla at that point?
I'm not sure that
Because
the stock,
2030 is only 4 years from now, dude, because we're 2026 now.
well, the end of 2030 is 5 years. Um, if you follow the growth of Apple from 2012 to the present, if you follow the growth of Nvidia over the last few years, the market stays behind. Um, Even when it's like so blindingly obvious that Nvidia should have a 100 PE ratio or higher, it's got a 44 PE ratio. Like, okay, um, people. Just on a side note, I have at least 2 or 3 people who've been in like trying to get me to buy SpaceX stock through this
Hmm.
special purpose vehicle or this fund
Hmm.
or whatever.
Hmm.
And I'm like, look, I think SpaceX is great. I think SpaceX is going to grow. And they're like, well, it's going to 2x this year. Like, okay, that's nice. But I don't know that SpaceX has a 10x in it or a 50x in it. I'm not saying it doesn't. Not from a $1.5 trillion market cap. Like, does it have a 2 or 3x from there? Sure. Um, I think Tesla clearly has a $10 trillion market cap by the end of 2030. I think that robotaxi, you're going to have 10 million robotaxis in 2030. They're going to be making $500 billion in gross profit, right? And the path to 100 million robotaxis is going to be pretty obvious, and that's going to be a $2 trillion gross profit, right? Which is just mind-boggling, but it's still pretty obvious. Okay, if you just there's 2 billion vehicles on the planet, 100 million robotaxis replaces 400 or 500 million of them. Like you even at 100 million robotaxis, you really haven't filled the market yet. And that assumes that people don't travel more, and you don't have more cargo transported by robotaxi, and you don't actually double the size of that market once you have all that. Optimus is, potentially infinite. Like, I don't know how big Optimus gets. Like, if you see a world of 10 billion Optimus, well, then if you made 100 million Optimus a year, it would take you 100 years to get there. So you have to be anticipating. Not that we're going to be making 100 million Optimus at the end of 2030, but you're going to see the path to 100 million Optimus a year. And then in 2030, I think we're going to see the beginnings of Terafab pumping out chips. I think you're going to need Terafab to pump out enough chips for the Optimus that we're going to. And I will say this. You asked me about AI chips earlier. AI 4 is clearly going to be in robotaxi, obviously. It's a question whether they put AI 5 in robotaxi, but they probably do just because they're going to be making so many of them and they don't have another place to put them yet. I don't think AI 6 goes in robotaxi. I don't think they bothered putting the AI 6 in robotaxi or training robot. Once you have, if it's working on AI 4 and AI 5 is 10, 11 times better, I don't think there's anything.
I've got a counter to that.
Yeah.
Very good one. I love my viewers, by the way. I have this one guy sent me this just recently. I was going to do a whole show on it. I have not yet. And he has a theory. Brilliant. He says that, okay, right now, what do they say? 1 chip per, 2 chips per car, 1 chip per bot. Something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. He's
Agree with
saying he predicts that they will put 4 chips per car. Why? 1 chip is driving and the rest are inference compute. Because why? Each car has it's got the cooling, it's got everything you need. You don't need to create a data center and all of that replicated. It's got the energy, the battery, it's got the cooling, it's got all that. That's why they're putting Starlink. They just had a patent where the roofs will that. Anyways, that was his theory, and I was like, oh, I really like that a lot. Distributed AI data center. Forget AI data centers in space. Satellites. We're talking about every car is a satellite that Tesla makes from now on, and they'll
It's an
put
interesting
4
theory because you would have low latency.
because it's
I don't think
closer.
you do it on the bot because the bot doesn't have a large battery pack.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in a car,
Yeah. Remember how
Uh,
Elon said, he said something like, boy, if I wonder if my car is going to be bored because if you put that one chip and it's not doing
yeah,
anything
yeah.
other than driving, it gets bored. And he's now thinking maybe I can make that to be a data
No, it's
rack,
board
I guess.
driving. It's already board
Because
driving.
so this overuse, and so they can use that. So let's go do that. If you're just going to do one, why not you put 3
Okay,
chips in there?
let's dance through this. If each chip is running on 1 kilowatt, which I think long term the chips are going to run more than 1 kilowatt, but let's say each chip is running 1 kilowatt. That's 4 kilowatts. That's 4 kilowatt hours an hour. Well, that's 4 kilowatt hours an hour. So if you have a 50 kilowatt hour battery pack, and you're driving,
Right.
um, I don't know that that's an. I
Mm,
think you have to rethink your design of your car. Like maybe your car needs a bigger battery pack, not because of the driving, but because of the chips.
mm.
Um, it's an interesting theory. And then how
Or
much
maybe the
bandwidth?
battery performance improves over the next several years. That performance is not transferred to driving miles, but it's just used for.
If you're using LFP batteries, the cost isn't very high. The weight is an issue. It's an interesting question. Like I think battery technology is improving, but not that fast. Battery technology is improving, 3% a year, something like that. So is there going to be some leap in battery technology that makes this better? What do you call it? A solid state something or other?
Mm.
Maybe.
They
But I
tried,
don't think
didn't work.
that's
Ford
necessary.
said,
I think the point is just that you could say, all right, instead of having a
yeah,
50 kilowatt hour pack in our cyber cab, we're going to have an 80 kilowatt hour pack in our cyber cab, and can we
yeah,
squeeze that in?
yeah.
Um, and is
Robovan,
the and then
yeah.
there's well, yeah,
The,
Robovan has room for a lot of battery, but
so
it's
bigger
going
and
to use
bigger, autonomous cars, not just the Cybercab, but bigger and bigger, and all of them will have. They're basically data warehouses on wheels as well. Um.
I
Anyways,
like that.
yeah, got to give that some more thought.
I'm not sure it makes sense, but I like it.
Yeah, it's worth thinking about. But it makes a lot of
Well, let
sense
me throw one other thing out.
if you're gonna do AI data centers on space, and you're trying to do the cooling and everything, and you've got this car that can basically take care of most of the infrastructure required, just throw a chip in, create a
Let me throw
satellite
one other
in.
thing out at you. One other
Yeah.
thing out at you is I think by the end of 2028, we will have learned that Elon or Tesla or some company associated has bought an insane amount of land, millions of acres of land
Well, I've
for
been
solar
saying
farms.
this for so I've been saying this already, dude. Why 2028 though?
No, no, that we will learn that it happened.
Yes.
That
Okay.
it's
Okay.
that
Agreed.
I'm not saying they've already done it. It's like
Okay.
Walt Disney
Thank
buying
you.
all the land in Orlando and not telling anybody.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So I'm all, as you know, I'm on board with that because I've been saying, and I don't know how many people shoot me down, but I'm saying Tesla does not have energy generation. It's one of the 3 pillars as part of their master plan 3. They have to get energy generation. He's talked about solar and batteries all the time. Where's the solar? Where's the solar? Where's the solar? Yes, there's going to be a solar farm. It's Saudi Arabia. It's going to be Texas, something.
Mississippi for Nashville,
Yeah.
Texas for Austin. Yeah, I love Saudi Arabia. I think Saudi Arabia or somewhere in that area makes a lot of sense. Where is land cheap? Nevada. There's a lot of cheap land in Nevada. I think we're
Yeah.
going to see. And then the question is, does Elon manufacture solar? Does Tesla start manufacturing solar cells instead of panels? Like China manufactures solar cells so cheap.
Yeah.
Can a deal be worked out where China's allowed to sell solar cells to the U.S. tariff free? If we could just get the solar cells.
Again, it's first principles. If Elon thinks that this is something that's required, he's going to have to build it himself. So,
But China's really, really good at that one.
yeah,
They are really, really good at that one. Like
he's going to
so do
reinvent
they
it.
start manufacturing solar cells at
Yeah.
scale? I think
Yeah.
we might see that.
I agreed. I am all on board that, and I've been predicting it. And the other one I've been predicting is food. That the next business that they'll do is food because they need that in Mars. But other people told me that no, food is pretty easy solution, easy solve. That's not mean. I think.
Yeah, I don't think that's a big issue.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for the conversation.
Awesome. Thanks for having
Always
me.
enjoy talking to you again. You always surprise me, which is great, which is awesome. You're different than everyone else. Let me put it that way. And some of your stuff is good. A lot of
So
it's good.
you're different, and some of the things you say make sense.
A lot of it does. It takes me days to think about what you said, because again, a lot of things you're saying, I could not refute a lot of it, but you know, I have to think about it because it's
All
challenging
right.
me, which I appreciate. Thank you so
I
much, Warren.
hope I'm
Appreciate
wrong.
it.
I want
Right.
Tesla stock to go to $1,000 a share in 2026. I hope I'm
And it
wrong.
could, and then it could just, it's going to be very volatile, right?
I actually
Because
looked at
nothing's
the
holding it. Yeah.
I actually looked at the options profit calculator to see how much my options would be worth. And my
Kills me.
options are one of the secrets of my option strategy is it's in a Roth IRA.
Yeah, you're so
So
good. Oh, that's
the earnings
fantastic.
are tax
Brilliant.
free. All my options are in a Roth IRA.
Brilliant.
It's like the perfect vehicle because if you get 5x or 10x growth and it's all
Yeah.
tax free.
Yeah. Brilliant, man. Okay. Thank you. See you soon. Bye, War.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.